Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Practice Pulse podcast. It is my greatest pleasure to share with you my friend, my dear friend, Dr. Sonia Chopra. Hi, Sonia. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Aditi?
I'm wonderful. You know, this has been a long time coming. I've been wanting to have a conversation with you on a podcast for so long because you're such an inspiration. From the first time we met, you have really inspired me personally to whenever I had come to roadblock or an obstacle, and I would be like, Sonia can do this. You can do this.
Well,
So
that means the world to me. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Well, a little bit about my dear friend Sonia. She is an board certified endodontist, a TEDx speaker. Guys, it's amazing. Her talk is amazing. Check it out. She is also a speaker in the dental industry. She speaks not only about teeth, which is her true love, but she also talks about being a leader, which is really, really important, and an empowered woman who can still be a woman while being a leader. So, thank you, Sonia, for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. It's really an honor.
So, tell us a little bit about your journey. I know that you had sometimes indicated that you were forced into dentistry, but
Yeah.
you're clearly passionate about it. So tell us how your mindset shifted.
So let's see. I was given the option of being a doctor or a dentist when I was young. I mean, you probably get it. You probably got the same two options. So
Absolutely.
our story probably started very similarly. And, I was always a dental patient because I was born without 8 teeth. I was literally born with just so many dental problems that I was always that patient. And so I was this young girl, always going to the dentist, but also with a mother who is a physician. She's an anesthesiologist. And she also missed a lot of important things in my life because of her life. And not only did it disappoint me, but it also disappointed my mother, I could tell. And it was hard for her. And I could pick up on this as a young girl. And so I don't know how I knew back then that like dentistry just had a little bit more control, like from that person as opposed to medicine. And so I chose dentistry as my path. I had a really horrible tooth story that kind of catapulted me into endo when it came time to pick within dentistry what I would do. And
Mhm.
so that kind of guided me while I was in dental school, was like, okay, well, why did I have this crazy toothache? Why did I lose another tooth? And that story kind of was my guide into becoming an endodontist. And I will say that I did not love dentistry. It wasn't like, oh, yeah, I want to be a dentist. It was like, these were my choices. And I picked one that I felt most familiar with. And then I went to it. And then when I got there, my first year of dental school, I had one of my teachers tell me how bad I was at it and that I should find a new profession. And I said, well, that shit ain't gonna fly with my parents. So not gonna happen.
Do that.
But so, and I'm here and I'm committed. And I think one thing that my parents taught me was the power of commitment because they had an arranged marriage. Honestly, normal people would divorce, but they stayed together and they're committed, even though it's messy. And so I learned that from my parents. And I decided I made a commitment. I'm sticking to it and I'm going to find my own way. And I have to say, I've really made dentistry my own, and I'm really freaking proud of that. And it's not traditional, and I'm not traditional. I'm rather rebellious, and I love that. And I again, I'm going to go against the norm, and that's what I did. And so now I'm really enjoying my time as a dentist, and I'm excited to do more.
That's so exciting. And I'm excited to see more because I know that if you say you're going to do it, you're actually going to do it. So I'm
Yeah.
so, so excited.
And this journey has taught me that I really can do anything. I was a really bad dentist, but I became a really good endodontist. And it was just because I put my mind to it. Like if my choice was be a tennis player, I would be an amazing tennis player. And so that's just what I've come to know about myself is that I will stay committed until I get really good at it to the point where that confidence creates enjoyment.
No, I completely resonate with you in that, you know. Yeah, I
Yeah.
tell you, commitment is half the battle. If
Yeah.
you are committed, you really can win over anything and everything that life throws at you.
Yeah.
You just have to say, I'm going to do this no matter what.
Yeah.
And you will come out at the end shining because, you know, how long, if you're committed to a path, how long can obstacles keep coming your way?
Yeah.
Eventually, those obstacles will start to get lighter and lighter and lighter and then disappear because the path also gets tired of you plowing through it.
That's true. Yeah, and you just get used to it.
Yeah,
You're like, "Oh, I've seen this before. I know what to do now," right?
yeah, yeah. So starting a startup or a dental practice is not an easy feat, but you did it. And tell us what challenges you had to overcome starting Valentine Endodontics.
Yeah, so in 2008, the economy was horrendous. I don't know if people remember that time during the economy, but I moved to a new place, Charlotte, North Carolina. I had never been here before. So I really didn't know anybody in the community, and I'm a specialist. And so community is really important. And so I couldn't find a job. Nobody wanted an associate because they just weren't busy enough with the way the economy was to support an additional person in their practice. So I was kind of forced to start my own practice. And again, I'm so happy that happened. Um, but I thought I knew a lot until I opened up the practice. And you even realize you don't even know enough about the clinical dentistry. But again, that's okay. Like you're going to learn on the job. You are going to learn so many things. But the one thing that I didn't realize how bad I was being a leader of people because they don't really teach you that in dental school. And so I struggled. I struggled being a leader of my marriage, being a leader of my team, being a leader of my family. I really struggled. And I was just going through so much. I always say, like, my 20s was like a blast and it was great. Like, there was no real responsibilities. And then my 30s was nothing but work. It's just all of a sudden I became something other than myself. I became a wife, I became a boss, I became a mom. And it's like, oh my goodness, I have all these new roles that I have no idea how to navigate. And then my 40s, I'm like, oh, finally, like I get it now. But so it was like a whole decade of just like figuring shit out
Mhm.
and like on the job, whether that job was my marriage, being a mom, or being this doctor in a practice. And yeah, just taking it day by day and realizing that I was just kind of walking through life blind was probably the hardest part. And um, once I started to fix myself as a leader, I started to understand how I could be truly me in every other aspect of my life. And then the kinks started to work out a little bit. Does that make
That's,
sense?
yeah, that's so awesome. You know, I think we're all as dentists struggle to be leaders,
Yeah.
whether it is in our businesses or in our family lives, really.
Yeah.
We get so overwhelmed by, how do you say, the nitty gritty, right? The
Mhm.
day to day,
Yeah.
that we forget to step out of that. And I'm guilty of the same, very much so.
Yeah.
And it took me, like you said, a better part of a decade,
Mhm.
a better part of my youth, you know,
Yeah.
figuring that out. And, it's still something that even today, sometimes you struggle, right? It's just like,
Absolutely.
how do you try to manage uh, being showing empathy, but still being a leader, right?
Right. Right.
And very hard. That balance is, oh my God,
Yeah.
still something that we struggle with every day. So tell me something, managing, of course, a dental office and still having a fulfilling life. You manage that. How did you do it? I know obviously it took a better part of 10 years, but
Yeah. Well, 8 years into my practice, I burnt out big time. So 2016, I hit rock bottom. And it was an ugly time, a dark time, but again, I'm just so grateful for it because I was able to see my shadows, work through my shadows, and I continue to work through them. I'm not perfect. I don't ever want to be perfect because I always want to do the work. But that was probably the hardest time, and that was like my wake up call. And so um I realized that I was putting all of my energy in my practice. And I think that's the biggest mistake. I think people need to take a step back and kind of zoom out and see, where are you putting all your efforts and your energy? And all of mine was pouring into my practice. And the moment I realized that I can't do that anymore, my life changed. And I started to pour more time into my family, more time into time off, more time into my passions. And then all of a sudden I started to feel whole, like that was really critical, but I really had to zoom out to see what I was doing because I
Mhm,
had all my energy in one bucket
mhm.
and it didn't need to go there. It was almost like it was just overflowing there. And actually, the more I removed myself and kind of gave people space at work, like everything kind of just worked itself out.
That's so awesome. That's such a lesson. We want to be in control, but I
Yeah.
think we end up micromanaging rather than
Yeah.
being in control.
Yeah.
And you actually realize that micromanaging ends up harming you because you never give the other person, whether it's within your practice, that space to grow
Right.
because you are just so, oh, I got to get this done. They're not getting it done. I'm just going to do it. And so, because of that, they never grow. And
Right.
because of that, your frustrations never go away.
Yeah.
And you may have a valuable team member, but without giving them that space to grow, and empowering them to take on that responsibility, which takes time. And I think a lot of the times that we forget that we need to give them that patience, that time
Right.
to be able
But
to
but
surrender
right.
within
And
limits, of course.
you just have to have clarity. You have to have clarity of what your expectations are, right? And I find that a lot of dentists don't do that. They don't, A, they're not consistent, and B, they're not clear on what your needs and desires are. And the moment you get really crystal clear with that, maybe it's in an SOP, right? Maybe it's just that, or maybe it's your vision. When you get that clarity and then you share it, and then you guys all agree upon it, and everybody understands what the expectation is, then all of a sudden it works out,
That's true.
right?
That is so
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Tell
And
me
then
something you
and
did
then
a
you,
yeah, go ahead.
I
Go
know,
ahead.
but then you be consistent with that.
That's right.
Like you stay true to that. And
Yeah.
and then like again, it's another commitment.
People.
It's a commitment. And then everyone knows what the desire is, and everyone's marching towards that common desire.
Yeah. Then you're actually in a marching band that is actually playing the same tune.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
It's so true. It's so true. And you know what? You did a huge pivot and created something really, really cool. It is an e-school for endodontics, for teaching general dentists to do endodontics. So tell us a little bit about that. That's such a unique way to approaching education. Tell us about a little bit about how you came up with that idea and what has it taken you to, take it from conception to actuality.
Yeah, so I think honestly, my tooth story where I got misdiagnosed, where they said my pain was coming from one tooth and it was really coming from another, and then they extracted a tooth thinking it was that tooth, and then I still have my toothache after that extraction. That was the conception, right? And that was when I was 17 years old. And I honestly think I went through that experience for a reason, because I feel like I was put on this planet to help people take care of their oral health. I don't know how else to explain that, but that is like a knowing that I have. So when I got to my practice and I started to see like my same tooth story showing up, I started to get really frustrated. And then my practice was growing, and it was like it looked super successful to like everybody on the outside looking in. I didn't think it was, because I could tell like the culture was off, but some people don't even know, they can't tell, right? It's
Right.
kind of like your wedding day, you're like the only one who knows when stuff goes wrong. Like it's that same feeling. And so I just was like, realized I'm like, okay, this is supposed to be the pinnacle of my career. I did it. I opened my practice. My numbers are crushing. Like, but something is still not right. And so I knew that I had this burning mission inside of me that I had to get out. I'm like, why do I still see these patients come to me and the wrong tooth number is circled on the referral slip, or like, just so many things that reminded me of what I experienced as a 17-year-old girl. I'm like, there is a problem with endodontic education in dental school, and nobody seems to really want to fix it. And
Mhm.
so I was like, well, instead of me just doing local lectures, why can't I put this out and just share it with the world instead of just Charlotte, North Carolina? So I put it together, and it was crazy because I felt like I was really in flow when I was creating it. I would wake up at 5 in the morning till 9 a.m. because everybody would be sleeping. And now my kids were super young at the time when I was making this. And so they were still early risers. And I knew that if I could get in a few hours before my entire house woke up, I could actually get this done as a working mother of three, right? And that's what I did. Again, I just put my head down and I just let it flow out of me. And I'm a dentist. I'm not an online marketer. I have no idea how
Yeah.
to start this, right? Like I just spent the last 8 years figuring out how to run a dental practice. Why am I trying to do this pivot? Like, what am I, stupid? But I couldn't help it. It was
Mhm.
like this
It was a
burning,
calling.
it really was like, and it just flew out of me. And then I just was like, okay, I'm going to start it this way. And it's like I launched it one way, and then it's really just kind of like now it's got like branches of like all these little things that have spurred out of it, and it's its own little thing. And now it's like this is really where I want to spend my time. So
And what do you love about it? How do you, how does it fulfill you?
I really I love how I've grown as a teacher, because now I see really what people need. They're not feeling good about the knowledge that they're given. There's so much fear when it comes to endo. And I'm able to take that fear away to re-empower them to do something that, if you think about it, there's so many forms of endo in a practice, from diagnosis to actually doing the root canal to just like managing pain. Like there's so many ways that the endo shows up that people don't realize. And it's a really big part of people's practice. And, you know, there's so many people in this world and this, even just in this country, that don't have access to an endodontist. Right? Their closest one is
Yep.
2 hours away, or they're in a Medicaid practice and there's no endodontist that takes Medicaid. I think there are many people who feel they're not happy with what I'm doing because they think, oh, endo should only be done by endodontists. But I'm like, well, now you're stripping away access to care to so many humans who really deserve this. And why can't we make these general dentists better? It's not like it's a hard thing. You do enough of it, you're going to learn it, right? So I think one of my favorite things about it is really inspiring people to take on more and being able to reach people that wouldn't normally have this type of access to care.
Yeah, and that's really, really important. I'm one of the few general dentists that learned endo a long time ago, and I would have loved to be an endodontist, but I got tired of school.
Yeah.
So that is something that is my passion as well. And it's really, sometimes I get really uh, puzzled by why a lot of the general dentists don't want to invest any time and energy in learning something that would potentially help patients become pain-free rather quickly, you
Yeah.
know. And and there are so many lesions that can be treated endodontically, and so much healing that can be achieved without, always pulling teeth out. I mean, yes, there is a time and place for that, saying that there isn't, but I always say, hey, give a tooth a fighting chance, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our motto. Give teeth a chance because, and I think that's another problem with our education is that we are teaching people to take teeth out. We're teaching people to give up. And we were born with teeth for a reason. And we signed up to save these suckers, right? So it's like that part I feel like we're missing in dental school. And it's actually getting worse, what I'm seeing
It's true. I
happening.
agree with
Like,
you.
and that's unfortunate. And we really we need a change. And I'm happy to be a part of that change and save more teeth and convince dentists that we can save a lot more teeth than we're currently doing.
Yes. Yeah. No, I'm in complete agreement with you. I always say, give the tooth a fighting chance. What is the end result? The worst thing that could happen? Yeah, we lose the tooth.
Yeah,
But let's see how much life we can get out of it.
that's
You
true.
wouldn't be willing to give up a limb that easily, would you now?
No, or a finger, you know?
It's so true. Well, you have carved out such a unique space and niche in dentistry for yourself and found your path. And how would you say uh, you could inspire our coming generation of dentists? What advice do you have for them to maybe be able to leave their own unique mark on dentistry?
Yeah, I think everyone should really tap into their feelings and pay attention to, and maybe you don't know what that feeling means in the moment, but if you feel like you have some sort of desire, like I had every reason not to do it, not to pull the trigger. There were so many barriers, obstacles in my path that should have stopped me from launching eSchool. But for some reason, I just kept on dodging them and I kept going. And just my biggest recommendation is like, just start. Just start from someplace. Don't, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just start from one place and see where it takes you.
Yeah, just make a goal and go for it.
Don't even make a goal. Just
Just
start.
do it.
Don't like I don't even want goals anymore. Like
Love it.
I'm so goaled out that I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna like pay attention to that one subtle little floating energy that I feel, and it's like, oh, that's where I should go. And I'm going to do that. And I feel like I've done that all my life, but I'm really going to trust that now. And it's
You're more in tune with it now.
right. And then again, just get started. That's all. And who
Yeah.
cares what that looks like? Just start it and take it from there.
That's so awesome. You know, I'm really learning that from you, Sonia, that there are many things in my life that, I've been hesitant to do because of whatever reason, right?
Mhm.
And now I am at that point in my life and career where I'm fortunate to meet and spend time with such wonderful people, inspirational people like you, that I'm good. I tell myself, well, I'm just gonna do it and put it out there, and we'll see. We'll see where
Yeah,
it takes us. And
exactly.
I'm so thankful for that shift in mindset. And I owe a lot of it to you. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So, one last thing, as both a clinician and a business owner, right? What leadership lessons have you learned in your journey that you would like to share?
Yeah, don't forget to play. Don't forget to have fun. Like you can keep working all you want, but like just stop and play and schedule time to play. Because if you don't, it's just not worth it.
Love that. I love that. Go find yourself, be yourself,
Mhm.
and really find time to spend the time with your family, because that's important. I am currently at a stage where we are going college tours because my son is
Oh,
a junior.
that
Yeah,
breaks
I
my
know.
heart. I
I
don't
know.
want to hear that.
And my sometimes I think about it, and that's funny that in my 20s or 30s rather, I would be thinking about, that patient, that my sleepless nights were about those patients or about
Right?
staff members or about work and, those kind of things. And today, my sleepless nights are about the fact that I didn't spend enough time with
Yeah.
my son, who's now a junior. And so, perspective changes, life changes, and we get pulled into this hamster wheel that we keep running on. And it's so funny. My business is still there, my dental practices are still there, my patients are still
But
there,
our kids are going to college.
but my
Yeah.
kids, they're going to go away. So, um, and which is also a beautiful thing as they enter their next chapter in their lives. But that's the one thing. It's so funny that keeps coming back to me, keeps waking me up at night. That it's like, wow, has my life come full circle? My son used to wake me up when I first started my practice, keep me up at night at that time. And I
Yeah.
used to be like, oh my God, I have so much work to do. How am I going to, do all this and be present in my career? And now it's coming back where he's keeping me up at night, but for different reasons. So, um, you
I
know,
know. I have 3 more summers with all of us together, and that is so sad to me now. And so now I've stopped like putting myself on like harsh deadlines. I'm like, yeah, I'll just get it done when I get it done because I want to make sure that I have time for other things and not just work. So,
so be a dentist, be a leader, but like Sonia and I think be yourself. That's the most important thing, really. Thank you, Dr.
exactly.
Sonia Chopra, for joining us
Thank you.
today. This was so
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you for sharing your journey and for being an inspiration to so many, including myself. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I love you, girl.
Oh, and if our readers want or listeners want to reach out to you
Yeah.
and find out about eSchool, how do they do that?
Yeah. So I'm always on Instagram at Dr. Sonia Chopra. That's Sonia with an I. And then also my website is drsoniachopra.com.
Awesome. Cool. DrSoniaChopra.com. You know where to find her. Thanks, guys.